What's up, guys? Silver here with another Halo Master Chief Collection Achievement Guide. This time we're doing Part 7 of our Halo CE LASO run. This is the library, so start this up. We're going to spawn in the beginning here. 343 Guilty Spark just warps us in here, teleportation style. And we're going to start off by moving forward up to this area where the infection forms are gathered. We have to go to this area here, and then we cut back, and we're going to use a grenade to jump up onto the structure here. So we bounce it off that, jump as the grenade goes off to get a little boost, and we're going to go up to where I zoomed in there. But first I want to wait for an infection form to come up here so I can smack them. Jump over here. It's a little difficult of a jump, but after some practice you'll get it. You have to jump a little earlier than you think you need to, and just crouch after you jump so it pulls your feet up, and then you could get a little more distance than you would normally, a little more height. But before we move forward, we actually have to go back and get Guilty Spark. You can see he's just waiting there for us to get to this point, and once we get to this point, he will move forward again. So after that, I like to jump up on that structure because that gets us to avoid a lot of the combat forms down there. They might shoot at you a little bit, but you at least avoid their melees. And then we're just going to go back out here to the middle, and we're going to make our way to this doorway that I'm looking at. Guilty Spark will be hovering over it. And then we're going to go up to this door over here, and we actually have to wait for the door to open. Guilty Spark leaves and then comes back once the door opens up. So that takes a little bit of time. I skipped ahead there, so you don't have to wait for it. And then we're going to go to the left instead of the right. Guilty Spark will say something like, hey, you're going the wrong way. But we're going to go over here, and there's actually a shotgun and a health pack hiding in the corner. So we're going to go grab that, and that way we'll have a shotgun to start. And you don't really need to worry about any enemies because there's only infection forms right here. So grab the shotgun and the health pack right there, and then we can make our way past these guys, smack them. If you lose any of your shield to them, it should be pretty easy to avoid them, though. But we're going to go back to where Guilty Spark is waiting for us. And for the first few waves, we're going to run past them and get them to chase us, and then we'll finish them off with a couple nades. So as we get back to Guilty Spark, the second hole on the left side of the wall here will have the first waves of enemies coming in. So you can see I just ran right under them. You want to be on the left side so you can run under them. And then we're going to go over here, kind of duck in here a little bit, and then we're going to come back out, and then there will be a glass floor between us and the flood. So once the leading flood are on top of that, just shoot it, and they'll all fall in the hole. Then we can turn around the corner, and we can melee these guys as they fall down to the ground, and then we'll be able to get our shield back. And we want to jump over this structure. We don't want to go all the way around, just jump over it, throw a nade down at the front of that structure. So as the enemies all come around this thing, they'll just get blown up by a couple frags. We want to save one frag if we can, because we're going to use that in the next section, in the next wave of enemies. But you can see there we just cleared out most of those enemies that were rounding the corner with those two frags. That second frag I threw just then bounced off an enemy and went to the left a little. That was not where I wanted to place it, but it worked out pretty well there anyway. So we're just cleaning up the remaining enemies here now, and we get a nice checkpoint here as well, so that is going to help us out. But where I am right now is a totally safe spot. No more waves of enemies will spawn in here as long as we don't go too far back or too far forward. But right now I want to show you the infinite ammo glitch, which is going to be crucial to this mission. So what you do is stand over a weapon that you could swap out with. So you need effectively 3 human weapons. So I have a shotgun, an assault rifle, and a pistol here with me. And what you want to do is, while you're standing over another weapon that you could pick up, hit reload, and then a half second later you want to swap out that weapon that is reloading for whatever weapon is on the ground. And when you do that, you'll actually notice that the sound of the animation for the reloading of the gun is actually still occurring. And once that is done, once that's complete, you could actually pick up the weapon, and you'll notice that you have fully reloaded the gun, but there is no ammo taken out of the reserve. So you can see I backtracked a little bit. I just wanted to show you the line that you could go to before you spawn in more waves of enemies. So we could go all the way to this line right here in the floor. You can see there's a distinct line right there. Kind of the tile changes. So don't cross that line or you will spawn in more waves of enemies. But you could go all the way back to that line and kind of gather all the ammo you can. So that's what I'm doing now, gathering as much pistol, shotty, and assault rifle that I can. So just kind of looking around the area, totally safe until we want to push forward here. So we got a shotgun here, and you can see this line, the same type of line, tile line, that we're going to have to cross to move forward. Once we cross that line, that spawns in the next wave of enemies. So you're totally safe in between those two lines. So just kind of looking at all the nooks and crannies of the map. All these explosions could send these weapons flying, so you really want to take a good look around to see where all the ammo could be. So we cross the line now, as you can see, and we're just going to hide in this little corner here to let all the enemies come down and spawn out of their little holes in the wall. So we're going to look up, and you'll notice that there's a light right here, and we're going to keep moving forward a little bit until you can see that hologram on the wall over there. And once you can do that, we're going to look at that light right here and just kind of move to the left a little bit, and then move to the left one more time, one more light's length worth, and then we're going to throw a nade right there, and that will get an explosion to occur that will kill some carrier forms, and then those carrier forms will get blasted to the left and take out all the enemies on the left side as well. Sometimes it kills all of the enemies, sometimes it doesn't. So you want to be ready with your shotgun, hopefully, if you have enough shotgun ammo, to take out any remaining combat forms. But a lot of the times it does kill all of the enemies over there. Sometimes you need to mop some of the enemies up. So we are going to take out the next wave of enemies now that are going to jump out of the ditch in the ground straight ahead of us right now. And unfortunately, I don't have a lot of shotty ammo. This was actually not great RNG. I could actually see a shotgun ammo or a shotgun on the other side of the ditch, but once we move towards that, it's going to spawn in some enemies, and I won't be able to get there in time. So I'm going to grab this nade right here. I can see there's a nade there, and there's a health pack. There's a plasma nade we can't pick up, but we could potentially use that to trigger a chain reaction if we throw the frag grenade down at that plasma grenade. But I'm going to start with my shotgun, and I forgot that I was low on shotty, apparently. I was just kind of standing there waiting to pull the trigger again on the shotty, and it wasn't doing anything. So this wave of enemies is not that bad. There's a handful of combat forms. I believe there's 6 of them. So you could really, if you have a full shotgun, which you will a lot of the time, you could actually shoot them all with one shell, and that should kill all of them. And then you could just mop up any remaining ones. This gets dicey, so I sped this part up. I just got backed into a corner, really, and there's a couple combat forms, and I'm out of my shotty ammo, so I'm really just meleeing these guys. As they melee me, it takes my shield down. As I smack them, I get my shield right back. So you just want to, ideally, you want to melee these guys with a shotty or an assault rifle, because those animations are faster than the Magnum, where you flip the gun. But you can see we killed that first of the 2 guys here that we're smacking on, and we got this guy. We're turning them in circles. So this is a good way to avoid taking damage. He can't really turn as fast as us, so his shots are going mostly into the walls around us. So feel free to run circles around those guys once you whittle it down to just 1. But we're going to move forward here. We're just gathering ammo here now, and we're going to move forward to the next wave of enemies. And there is a overshield down in that ditch, but I'm going to wait for that, or wait to pick it up, rather. So you can see we could do the reload glitch with the shotgun as well, and you can see it actually pumps when it's done. The animation occurs even though it's on the ground and you're not holding it, which is pretty cool. But we're going to move forward here, and we're going to go beyond these pillars here that are kind of in the middle of the map there. And we don't want to move past this point right here that I'm at right now, because there's a bunch of carrier forms coming from the right, but there's also a ton of combat forms on the left. So I'm going to get the carrier forms to come towards me, and then I'll shoot at them right about there, and that will get the carrier forms attention, or the combat forms attention, rather, and they will start running at me, and I could shoot the carrier forms as the combat forms are running up close to them. So hopefully, when I kill the carrier forms, they will blow up and kill everybody. But unfortunately, I didn't time it just right that time, so it looks like most of the combat forms survived, and I had to use all my shotty ammo. And for the rest of them, the remainders, I'm just going to melee these guys. You don't really want to get into a melee match with more than 2 combat forms at once, otherwise they're going to overwhelm you. But 1 or 2 is okay. So you can see here, I just skipped ahead a little bit. I was just gathering a bunch of ammo and using the infinite ammo glitch where I could. And then we jumped into the ditch here, and we grabbed the overshield that was down below. But you can see I'm just looking for more ammo and more frags where I could find them. But at a certain point, you don't want to be looking to the left and the right. You just want to make a straight shot right about now down the middle of the map here, because there's going to be enemies coming in from the left hole, the left furthest most hole in the wall over there. So you can see they spawn in there, and we want to just jump up that structure, totally ignore them, don't shoot at them, that will draw their attention. Jump up here onto this structure to avoid the carrier forms on the other side here, and you can see I got hit even with going up there. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't, and sometimes you make it all the way over here without that guy chasing you, but he did this time. Usually you get a checkpoint over here if that guy doesn't chase you. Even if he does chase you and you kill him quick enough, you'll get a checkpoint right here where I am now. But unfortunately we didn't this time, but that's okay. You want to duck in there so the Sentinels distract all of those flood forms, and oftentimes you'll be able to just kind of jump out and around them, and they're all distracted by the Sentinels, so you could just kind of wrap around them, and then you could normally kill that carrier form before you get too close to them. Normally that carrier form is a little further back, so you could 4-shot them with the pistol real quick and blow them up before you get too close. But that time, I didn't really have any time, so I had to just kind of take that hit and deal with it. But I meleeed those infection forms to get my shield back, went on to the elevator there, and we skipped that part of it just going up. That takes like 20 seconds. So we cut ahead, and we're just going to follow Guilty Spark down to this section. There's going to be a bunch of carrier forms, but we're going to despawn all of the combat forms that would normally come into this area. So there's some health down here into this ditch. There's 2 health packs, actually. And we're going to move forward here. You can see the carrier forms that I promised are just kind of hanging out here. I'm just going to let the Sentinels kill these guys because they don't really have any defense against the Sentinels. They just kind of stand there and take it. But once they're dead, I'm going to move forward, and you'll see an objective pop up on your screen that says, hold your position until the monitor returns. Once you see that pop up, you want to cut back the way we came, and we're just going to hang out on the structure over here. And you'll notice that when you just kind of hang out over here, no more enemies will spawn in. This is actually a section where you're supposed to hold out, and there's a bunch of waves of enemies. But since we kind of went into that section and triggered that area, that timed segment to start where you're holding out, we just come back over here and no enemies spawn because we're not in that area that triggers them to spawn. So just stand here on this structure and kind of look over here. You'll know when you could leave because Guilty Spark will say, hey, come on, let's go. And you'll notice he comes down through that wall there, through that hole, and kind of goes forward into the mission. So just follow him once he comes out of that wall and grab some frags right here by the health pack. So we have at least 2 frags now at this point. I had another frag from earlier that I picked up somewhere. And you can see all the enemies down there. We're going to ignore those guys. We're going to take the scenic route over here, over on the ledge. So what you do is just kind of jump up, and you should be able to get up there without any really special jump or anything. I tend to crouch jump just by default. That gets you the increased height, so you could, jump up to higher heights or whatever. But you don't even have to crouch. I just kind of do it out of habit here. So just kind of run and jump, so you slide up the structure there. And you want to make sure you wrap up around the right side like we did. You could go around the left side, which will bring you to this point, but it won't hit all the load zones you need to hit. So, and it takes longer to go around that way. So go the shorter way, take the right like we did there, and you can see this door gets stalled. It starts opening, but kind of gets stuck. So you have to wait for Guilty Spark to go open it up fully. And I just skipped ahead there because you wait like 30 seconds, and meanwhile, a bunch of infection forms come flying at you like you could see. So we cut ahead to the point where the door actually opens up fully so we can move forward. You don't need to see me waiting around. And you want to make sure that you kill all of these infection forms because that will ensure that you get a checkpoint right here as you go through the doorway. But as you round this corner, you want to immediately approach this ditch and then kind of round the corner there and throw a frag grenade to the right side and then a second one to the right side. And you should have the 2 frag grenades at least that we picked up with that health pack just previously. So you have at least those 2 to totally kill those guys off. They are all coming up the ramp out of the ditch right as they spawn in, so you could easily take them out with those 2 frags. And then we'll just look around for more ammo. There's a health pack back there. We'll start in on these carrier forms. Hopefully a chain reaction occurs and they just kill themselves. And meanwhile, we're going to look for more ammo. You're going to see that I'm going to be cutting ahead a few times throughout this mission. I'm really just looking around for like a minute for all the ammo and also using the infinite ammo glitch so I could reload all my weapons without actually having to use any ammo. But speaking of that glitch, I'm actually unable to do that glitch right now because I don't have a third human weapon that I could pick up. So I just have the shotty and the pistol right now, which are the 2 weapons I want to use, but I want an assault rifle, and I would expect to get one from killing all those guys that were coming out of the ditch just previously, that previous wave of enemies we just took on. So I actually can't use the infinite ammo glitch right now, so the RNG is not shining down upon me right now. Normally you do have an assault rifle you could use, but not this time. I actually get really bad RNG when it comes to the different weapons that spawn on this map or in this mission. So we're going to run forward here anyways, back to the mission. That guy always drops down. He's scripted to drop in front of the tunnel like that, so I just run up and shotgun him. And then I back up, and all these infection forms fly at me, so I'll just wait for them to come over here. And for these infection forms, you could probably notice at this point that I don't really shoot at them ever. I just let them kind of jump onto my body, and they just kind of explode. And they do take down a little bit of shield each time they do that, but you could easily get your shields back by just smacking one of them every so often. But you can see there, the first enemy that I tried to tackle was the carrier forms. There's 2 carrier forms all the way in the back of the formation of Flood. So if you could spot one of those guys, you want to take aim at those guys first because their explosion will hopefully kill or damage the majority of the enemies surrounding them. So once you kind of get their attention, they'll kind of charge your location like they're doing right now, and you could melee them, shotgun them, whatever you need to do to keep your shields up and dispose of them. But on the plus side of them charging my position, you could see that they brought me an assault rifle, so I now have a means to use the infinite ammo glitch once again. This guy is a good example of a non-priority Flood. He has no weapon in his left hand, or his right, my left, and he had no arm on his left side. So their only melee arm is their left arm, so if they're missing their left arm, then you don't have to worry about them, as long as they don't have a gun too, of course. But they won't melee you unless they have that left arm still attached. So just something to note. You want to prioritize other enemies if there's one just kind of laying around, not doing anything to you. So we're going to look around again. This whole area, you could just safely explore until we go under Guilty Spark. You can see him kind of hovering over there. But once we go over there, more enemies will spawn in. And we're going to, like we did towards the beginning of the first floor, we're going to kind of run ahead and then kind of stop and hold out in a specific spot. So we're going to run under Guilty Spark right now, shotgun any enemies that drop down to the right, and then we're going to turn and jump on top of this structure like we did in the previous section, and we're going to do that so we can avoid those explosions from the carrier forms. And then you want to turn your attention down the hall on the right and immediately start pistoling one of the carrier forms in the back right section, because that will trigger an explosion. There's a bunch of carrier forms around there, so hopefully it will kill all of those guys, plus the 2 rocket flood that are hanging out down at the end of the hall there. So once you kill that first carrier form, it'll cause a chain reaction, and you could focus on the people that are actually closer to you that you skipped, starting with the carrier forms that are actually closer to you, because those will blow up, and they'll be able to kind of block the path of all the enemies that are chasing you, and those enemies will just blow up in their attempts to get to you, for the most part, obviously. And then we could finish off any stragglers with a shotgun, and remember to melee people as you need to keep your shield up. So once you hear that chime that your shield is low, just look for somebody to melee, whether it's a combat form or an infection form. But once you finish this battle, it's supposed to be awesome, because you should have rockets lying around the map somewhere from those 2 rocket flood. But unfortunately, in this particular run-through, I don't know where the rockets are. Typically, there's some rockets hanging out by that health pack. There are none. I spent, I don't know how long, looking for rockets, and I felt like calling it quits and just, doing a whole other playthrough for my LASO guide here. But I decided I would stick with it, and just, if you encounter this where you can't find the rockets, this is what you do. You move forward towards this ditch in the ground, and there will be some flood that spawn in. Not too many, so you'll be able to deal with them with the shotgun. The trusty shotgun is what we're going to have to rely on now, because we don't have those infinite rockets that I planned for. So this is kind of good. It shows you how to deal with, these guys if you don't get the infinite ammo or the infinite rockets, because you probably will have those at this point. But just kind of spawn these guys in, and then you can see I'm using the geometry on the right to act as kind of a spot where I could funnel them in. They kind of just round that corner and run right into my shotgun, basically. So that's a nice area you could kind of hang out, wait for them to run at you, shotgun them, and then we could finish these guys off. That guy likes to hang out on that structure over there on the right, so you could just pistol him if you have a pistol, or however you want to kill him. But after we kill this guy, we're actually just going to run to the next elevator, and we don't want to take a third weapon with us, because we actually can't take a third weapon onto the elevator. It'll actually just fall through the elevator. But you can see the ditches here. One thing I should note is the fact that you can see these tiny little cracks. You can see those weapons down there. If you throw a grenade and you find that it doesn't explode or something, it's probably because it went into one of those cracks and blew up, but it actually didn't do anything because it was kind of stuck in the floor down there. And you want to make sure that when you're juggling weapons, so you could use the infinite ammo glitch and you keep carrying those weapons with you through the mission, you want to make sure you don't accidentally throw one of those weapons into that crack between the ramp and the ditch itself, because you will actually not be able to retrieve it at that point. So make sure you don't do that. And you can see at this point we're just running past all those enemies. There were some enemies that spawned on the left side and the right side, but it's easy to get past them. You can see I did take some damage. One of the carrier forms decided to blow up fairly close to me, so I took a little bit of damage on my shield, but that's okay. We're going to get through this elevator part, and you can see that there's some carrier forms that spawn and jump onto the edge of the platform here, but they just kind of stay to themselves, so you don't have to worry about them coming at you or anything. But the weapons you would want to take if you had rockets is the shotgun and the rocket. So whenever you go up an elevator, take shotguns and rocket if available. If not, you want to use shotgun and pistol. And if not, then I don't know what you're doing, because you should have at least shotgun and pistol at all times. So we are here. Ideally, we would have shotgun and rockets, but unfortunately, we only have shotgun and pistol at this point. You could just wait for the Sentinels to kill all these guys, but I'm just going to help them out a little bit, so I could smack one of these guys to get my shield back, which I don't actually have to do because there's a health pack at the end of the hallway here. But I'm just kind of speeding this up a little bit. So feel free to just kind of hide and wait for the Sentinels to kill these guys, though, if you're not comfortable doing that. And I will just kind of take some time to kill all these guys, but then gather all the ammo, of course. Use the infinite ammo glitch to fill everything up without taking any ammo away. And then we'll look around. There is another rocket that is always here, and it's not in this playthrough because my RNG is terrible. But you can see I skipped ahead a little bit here, was just reloading and gathering supplies and everything. There's a health pack up here. That's where I am on the other side of the ditch here. And over here, there's always a corpse, and this guy always has rockets in my experience, except for this one playthrough when he's really screwing with me. I was holding out hope that he would have the rockets there so I could proceed through the rest of the mission with rockets. At this point, I'm having a crisis of conscience, and I'm like, should I just reset this and record a different video? But we're going to press on. If this happens to you too, this is how we're going to do it. At least I have an assault rifle now, so I could use infinite ammo for these lesser weapons. Infinite shotgun and infinite pistol is better than nothing. So we're going to just shoot at these guys down the hallway from as far back as we can with the pistol so we could kill most of them before they even get to us. Normally you would have infinite rockets at this point, so you could just shoot them from far away and blow them up. One thing to note, though, is there is a load zone directly to my right. So if I shoot a rocket down the hallway and then move to the right and wait for it to connect, it actually won't. It will despawn the rocket mid-air if I move to the right. So you do need to kind of wait in this hallway and visually make sure it lands before you can move to the right if you want to move to the right at all. So just a side note. But we're just going to kill these guys. One thing to note is when you're juggling all these weapons through the mission, on top of not wanting to get them stuck in the crevice between the ditch and the ramp leading out of the ditch, you want to make sure that you're avoiding throwing the weapons down on the ground in a careless way, where you would kind of throw them up against a wall or a structure that's not the floor. You really only want them to touch the floor because they won't fall through the floor sometimes, or get stuck in the floor. Sometimes they get stuck in walls and other weird pieces of geometry, so you want to avoid throwing them at anything other than the floor. And another note on top of that is you want to make sure you're actually throwing them onto the floor itself, because as you're going through these tunnels especially, there's going to be a bunch of flood bodies that pile up, and you want to try to avoid throwing your weapons onto the flood bodies, because sometimes if you throw a weapon onto a flood body, it will actually fall through the floor, so that's not good either. So you want to kind of juggle around all of the flood bodies and make sure you're only touching the weapons down to the floor itself. So just some notes there, because you'll be juggling weapons and then all of a sudden you'll realize they're either missing or stuck in a wall or something. So just some weird things about the physics of Halo right there. And it's not a guarantee that if you throw a weapon into the wall that it'll get stuck, or if you throw it on a flood body, it'll fall through the floor. But there is a small chance, and if you do it enough, it will happen. So I've had it happen to me countless times. But anyway, at this point, I would have infinite rockets normally, and I would just kind of spawn the enemies in and go back into the ditch and fire my rockets, and use infinite rockets to kill all these guys slowly. And as the waves keep coming, I would kill them all. Eventually, the waves will die out. But you can see I don't have infinite rockets, so I'm just going to run past these guys. And it's actually pretty easy to run past these guys. Just if I had infinite rockets, I would do that because, you know, it's easier and more reliable. But it's pretty easy to run past these guys because there's some Sentinel reinforcements that you have in this section. So you could really just run over here. And I was trying to juggle my assault rifle over here as well so I could have infinite ammo over here. But unfortunately, I did not make it. So we're just going to run over here, and I'll show you how to deal with this section without the infinite rockets. So we're going to run over here until it says hold your position until the monitor returns, again like it did in a previous level or on a lower floor of the library like earlier in the mission. And just like in that instance, we're going to back up, and there is an initial wave of enemies that will spawn actually, unlike the previous time that this happened where we got that objective. But you want to just focus on the carrier forms to start, because those guys blow up and they take out the majority of enemies that are nearby. So hopefully you could just take out a couple of those guys and not have to worry about anything else, and then you could clean up anything that happens to be a remainder, if there are any, with the shotgun. And whenever you are dealing with the carrier forms, I would recommend just shooting the pistol at them so you could conserve shotgun ammo for the combat forms. So it's a 4-shot kill with the Magnum to take out those carrier forms. But now that initial wave is dealt with, so we could actually just hang out on the structure to my left. We got a straggler here in the wall, hold on. But we could kill him and then jump up onto the structure behind me, and we can just wait it out, and that door will open up on the left side. But unfortunately, I'm going to break the barrier of the trigger zone, and you can see I moved forward here like an idiot. You can see those 3 flood forms drew me in. I broke the barrier, and now another wave of enemies are coming in. So I'm going to back it up, and we'll deal with these guys. So if you're an idiot too, and you spawn these guys in, or you spawn in a second wave of them, which is unnecessary, just back it up, and we'll kill these guys as they come at us. So we have a lot of shotgun ammo and pistol, fortunately, so we could deal with these guys. But ideally, you just won't spawn them in at all. So I'll show you actually a successful attempt at that glitch in a little bit. But for now, we're killing these flood. But just to note on those 3 flood that actually drew me in, sometimes they join the battle in the initial first wave, and sometimes they don't. They're kind of a separate entity. There's the waves of enemies that come at you, and then there's those 3 flood that are just standing over by the door. So the reason they didn't come at me right away is because I was far enough away from them where my gunshots, when I fought that first wave, were not actually drawing their attention. But when I shot that straggler flood combat form that was hiding in the hole, kind of in the wall, that was closer to them, that's when they kind of heard my gunshot, and then, you know, they were alerted to my presence, so that's why they ran over. So sometimes they will actually come forward if you're close enough when you're battling that first wave. Sometimes they'll stay by the door. So when the door does open up, you could actually go over there and see that they're still standing there, so you might have to fight 3 more flood as you go through the door. But once again, I screwed up. You could see I moved forward before the door was fully open, and I spawned in yet another wave. So another time I'm screwing up, but we're going to have to deal with these guys, and I'll just do it. We're getting no infinite rockets. I'm screwing up left and right, but we're still pushing through. It's like I have an additional skull turned on that makes me forget all the glitches and how to perform them correctly. But we got a health pack in the corner right here, and we're going to move forward into the next part of the mission, but I'm actually going to cut to a different run, a different playthrough of this mission, where I have rockets, actually. So we're going back to that ditch, that tunnel I came out of right before that last battle that we just took part in. So this is what I would do normally, just kind of hang in the ditch, shoot a rocket, go back to the end of the tunnel here, use the infinite ammo glitch to reload and have infinite rockets, and you could kind of poke your head out and shoot towards those holes that the enemies are coming out of. But that could be risky if the enemies start building up outside. You could see they're distracted by the Sentinels initially, but the Sentinels will die eventually, and they will focus all of their efforts on you. So you're going to want to kind of hang back in the ditch after a little bit, and you could shoot the structures surrounding the ditch because the splash damage is huge with the rockets, especially with the boom skull on. So you could kind of shoot to the left and the right of the ditch. The structures kind of surrounding the ditch. You could also just shoot the top of the ditch, the sides of the ditch as well, or the wall behind the ramp on the far side of where we're looking at right now. You could shoot the ramp itself on the top, so enemies that are kind of coming around it will just blow up and die from the splash damage. A good thing to be aware of is the fact that they're walking around the ditch to the far end and then walking down the ramp. They never just jump straight into the ditch itself because that's just not in their AI. You might find one fall in if he kind of gets blasted into the hole from an explosion, or he jumps at a Sentinel and then lands in the ditch, but he'll never just walk and then intentionally jump down into the ditch. He'll always walk along the ditch itself all the way to the top of the ramp on the far side, and then he'll walk down the ramp, so you could kind of take advantage of that, knowing where their pathway is going to be. But just a note here, in this particular run, I have bandana on, so I could have infinite rockets just to display the strategy I would use. But in your actual LASO walkthrough, you would obviously be using the infinite ammo glitch by using the third human weapon, obviously. But this is what I would do until there were no more waves of enemies if I had infinite rockets. But in the particular LASO walkthrough that I'm showing off, I only had the shotgun and pistol, so I just ran past all those guys, which is easy enough, and then moved on to the next section. So I'm going to skip ahead to that section and show you the successful glitch or exploit that I did not pull off in my main LASO run. So here we are. We skipped ahead a little bit. Right after that section, we were just facing all those waves of flood. We killed all those guys, and we're going to move forward. And like we did in our main LASO walkthrough, we're going to move forward until it says hold your position until the monitor returns. If you have infinite rockets, you could use those at this point. You want to set up your third weapon back here so you could shoot your rocket all the way back here as you retreat, and then you could reload those rockets and continue to fight these guys, and we'll be able to take these guys out pretty quickly. So you got the checkpoint. Everyone's dead. That should be all the carrier forms and combat forms. And now, instead of breaking this barrier like we did in our main LASO run-through, we're just going to jump on top of this structure here that I just smacked. So just stay up here and just face the door. You don't have to face the door, but I'm just going to look at it so I know when I can move. And I'm going to skip ahead about a minute and a half. It takes a while for this to open up, so don't worry if it's not opening up right away. It takes some time. You can see I skipped ahead about a minute and a half or so, 2 minutes, and you can see the doors opening. Wait for the door to fully open before moving forward, because if you go too fast, you'll spawn in another wave of enemies, like I did accidentally in my main LASO walkthrough. And we're going to move forward. And like I mentioned previously, sometimes there's 3 enemies just standing there because they're not part of that first wave of enemies. They're their own thing. They're just kind of hanging out by the door. And if you kill that first wave of enemies, kind of further away from these guys, they won't notice it at all, so they'll just kind of stand here by the door. And now we're switching back to our main LASO run where we don't have rockets, we don't have bandana on because it's an actual LASO run. And as we move through that big door that we were waiting for it to open up, we're going to throw a frag grenade around the corner here because there's actually a rocket float that spawns there. And he has dropped his rockets. I'm finally able to get my rocket launcher so I can have infinite rockets for the rest of the mission. So at this point, I want to proceed with rockets and shotgun because we're going to leave our third weapon behind. If I didn't happen to pick up the rockets here, I would just keep going with what I had. And if I had rockets already, like I should have, I would just throw the frag grenade over there and then go to the right side, which we're going to do shortly. So I'm just killing these combat forms and waiting for these carrier forms to get far enough away from the rockets so that when I kill them, they don't send my weapons flying around the map. So I just kind of circled around until they blew up. Turns out they actually just killed themselves, and fortunately they were not near the rockets when they did that, so I'm going to reload my weapons here. So I have a reloaded rocket launcher and a reloaded shotgun. Just a side note on the shotgun, which I should have mentioned earlier, it is a little tougher to infinitely reload the shotgun than it is the other weapons. For whatever reason, I think it's because you pump individual shells into the shotgun. It's a little trickier to get to work for infinite ammo for the glitch, but everything else is very easy. One thing to note on the rockets, if you have one rocket in reserve, if it says one, then it will have to go through the reload animation sound effect twice before you pick it up. And if you have two or more, it'll reload with just one of the cycles of the sound effects. So just note that it'll take twice as long if you have only one rocket in reserve for the ammo. So there's a health pack on the ground here along with 3 grenades. So another thing I should mention, and probably should have mentioned earlier, is you want to save as many grenades as possible. You could use them when I use them, so you'll notice that I use them in specific spots throughout this mission up to this point. But you want to save them as much as you can. The only reason I threw that one there is because I know I have those 3 frag grenades by that health pack. So you want to have as many as possible, only really use them when I use them, because I use a good amount of them in very specific situations and areas. But if you haven't been saving them up yet, now is the time. There's those 3 frags by the health pack, so you should have at least 3 at this point if you haven't been saving them up. But we're going to go over here, grab the health pack, reload everything as we need to, and we're going to skip this next wave of enemies. We're going to duck around the corner to the left, and we'll be able to run past all these guys up ahead here. And we're going to take a similar route to the ones we did earlier. We've already done it a couple times where we kind of took a left. We go under Guilty Spark, who's kind of hovering up ahead here, go to the left, and then we're going to jump onto the structure to kind of cut the corner, and that way we won't be too close to a bunch of carrier forms that are spawning there. So right now I'm just looking for more ammo, but we're going to go under Guilty Spark, take that left, and we're going to look to the right for enemies that are jumping down near us. We could shotgun them as we go. And then we're going to jump over this. Like I mentioned, we're going to cut the corner by jumping up on top of the structure here so we stay away from those carrier forms. We could shoot them if we'd like, and then we're just going to run all the way to the other end. You can see I'm throwing a nade. I'm going to throw a second one because I know there's 2 more nades up ahead here. So if you have only 3, you could use 1 and then know that you're going to be replenished up ahead here. So you'll have a full 4 nades. I used 2 because I had 4 already, and I'm going to get the 2 right here for the 4. So we're going to grab that health pack as well, so you should have full health, shields, nades, and we want to have rockets and shotgun at this point. But you can see immediately after getting those nades and that health pack, I went right to this corner and just stood here. I skipped ahead about a minute and a half, because if you just wait here, you don't have to do anything else. You can see there's a bunch of enemies that are now moving through that door as it opens up. You have to fight those guys along with a bunch of endless waves of enemies for about a minute and a half if you, engage them ever. So since we just went to that corner immediately, they never knew we were in this area. They don't know where we are. They just stand around until the door opens. Then they move forward and engage those sentinels. So you could take that opportunity once they're all past you to rocket them and kill all of them in that big group. And you want to kind of look back to the left and make sure there's not like a straggler hiding in the wall or something, which happens sometimes. But right after you rocket them, you want to whip out your shotgun and just have it ready in case there's a straggler or 2 that you did not kill with the rocket blast. And now that you've killed all them, there's a ton of weapons lying around, so gather all the ammo you can. Use the infinite ammo glitch to reload everything, and then we're going to move forward with the rockets and a shotgun. There's going to be a ton of enemies coming in from the right side, so once they come in towards the left, around the corner here, you could throw a rocket at them. That's right, throw a rocket at them. Get a killionaire, why not, while you're at it? And then we're going to go back here where the ton of enemies that we killed initially are and all their weapons, and we could use the infinite ammo glitch again to reload our rockets, and we'll move forward and kill the stragglers, the remainder over here. So there's a couple combat forms over here. Take them out, go back, use the infinite ammo glitch again to reload our rockets, and then we could press forward here. So the infinite ammo glitch, you could see, is a huge help in getting you through this mission fairly easily once you do actually get it. And a couple sections ago, I actually ran past a bunch of enemies. You could decide to just kind of deal with those enemies with your infinite rockets if you would like. That's just kind of an area I typically skip and just run past all those guys. But feel free to post up with the infinite ammo if you would like, if you find that's easier. Right now, I'm just looking for more shotgun ammo if I could find it, or my rockets, and we'll move forward here. There's going to be some carrier forms that spawn at the end of this section, so sometimes you could kind of run under them before they jump down. Sometimes you can't, so this time around it looks like they jumped down before I could get past them, but that's okay. We'll just back up, let the Sentinels take them out, and then we'll try again here. But while we're waiting for those guys to pass, I could go over the backpack reloading glitch, which is I could reload a weapon while I'm shooting another weapon. So what you do is you have a weapon you want to reload, so hit reload again, and then switch to your other weapon. And that will actually reload that weapon while you are using the second weapon. So it's great for a big firefight, so you can keep up a constant stream of fire. But it will use actual ammo, so you can't use an infinite ammo glitch with that. But we've reached the top of the final elevator in this mission, and I have my rockets and shotgun with me. I'm going to cut straight across and grab this health pack regardless of if I need it, and I'm going to kind of follow that same path every time. And sometimes you could avoid that carrier form blowing up, sometimes you can't. This time he got me. But I'm just going to easily get my shield back by killing an infection form, so you know how we do. And this is another left I'm going to take where there's a bunch of enemies jumping down from the right, and I'm going to try to run past all these guys, but I take a little bit of damage, unfortunately, on my way, and I need a fairly good shield in order to do this grenade jump up ahead, so I'm going to shoot a rocket at those guys, and then I'm going to melee whatever I can that remains to get my shield back, and then we're going to go across this ditch here, and we're going to throw a grenade up against the door. You can see it's kind of half open, so I'm going to throw a grenade, jump on top of this kind of slanted area where that door is, and then I could climb through the hole in the middle and jump over here, grab the health pack so we have full health and shield again, and we're going to go into this corner, and like the other time where we just kind of stood there and waited for the doors to open, the same thing will happen here, so we don't have to fight anybody in this section. Just immediately go into that corner so nobody knows where you are as they spawn in, and then you'll be able to just wait for the door to open. Go over here, and we're actually going to get the enemies to come at us because we want a third weapon so we could have infinite rockets for this final section of the mission. So they saw me actually come over here, so they're chasing me down over here, which is fine with me because that's what I wanted to happen anyway. But if this didn't happen, I would just come over here and I would just shoot my gun at them once. Just shoot one round of shotgun ammo at them. Then they'll notice you, they'll come over here and bring you whatever weapons you want. So you can see there's a shotgun, or not a shotgun, there's a pistol, and there's an assault rifle, so I could use any of these now to juggle towards the end of the mission so I could have infinite rockets for the final part, which is going to be super important in getting through that final door pretty easily. But you can see there's a health pack at the bottom of that ditch, so I just grabbed that, and now I'm going to juggle my shotgun and pistol all the way to the end of this area here. And you want to do this quickly because there's going to be a bunch of carrier forms that actually spawn around you and drop down. So you can see I'm just running all the way to the end of this area here, and then I'm going to turn around once I'm at the end, and I'll start using the infinite rocket glitch again and just kind of shoot in front of them so they get blasted back. You don't want to shoot behind them because then they're going to blast towards you, and that will send them flying at you, and then they'll explode once they land next to you, so that's not good. So you can kind of switch between the pistol if you have the pistol. The pistol's great at shooting and killing these carrier forms, and meanwhile your rockets are reloading, so you could fire a rocket once your pistol's done, and then you could kind of switch between the pistol and the rockets. The pistol's probably better, actually, for this particular part. But who could resist infinite rockets? But you can see they're all dead now. Nobody on the left spawns in until you kind of go to the left. So you don't have to worry about anyone coming from that area. Just the carrier forms coming from down the hallway. So we're going to go over here and plant a third weapon right about there on that line. And then we're going to move over here. You'll get a checkpoint. You'll hear the enemies spawn in. And then you could back up to that pistol. And then you could fire a rocket. And immediately, once you fire the rocket, swap those rockets for the pistol on the ground. And that way you'll start the infinite ammo glitch right away. And those rockets will start reloading as soon as possible. Because once a weapon needs to reload, you will actually start reloading by default. You don't even have to hit reload if you're out of ammo in that magazine. So what happens is you just start reloading. And all you have to do, you don't even have to hit reload. At that point, you just have to switch to the weapon on the ground. So it's a very fast and efficient way to start that infinite ammo reload glitch. And due to the recession skull, you know that when you fire a rocket, you're going to need to reload right after that. So you could always just fire a rocket and then swap the weapon, and it will start that infinite ammo glitch for you. So we spawn in those enemies and we kill them all by backing up and using the infinite rockets glitch. And now we're going to move forward. There's going to be no more enemies spawning in here. There is a ditch here, so you want to juggle your weapons around the ditch. Remember, you don't want to get them stuck in between the ramp in the ditch and the ditch itself. So give a wide berth if you need to. And you always want to have the rockets in your back pocket. So you want to juggle the shotgun and the pistol at this point, and at all points, really, because you want to keep your most important weapon from falling through the floor or getting stuck in a wall or just losing it in general. So you'll notice me juggling things around throughout this mission. I've kept the rockets in my back pocket the majority of the time when I was doing that. But we want to place our third weapon on the ground right about where that pistol is, and we will back up. You can see the door starting to open up. When that happens, you'll get a checkpoint, and you want to back up and just let the enemies come through. In the meantime, I will show you where a health pack is if you need it, and also more rocket ammo if you need that. And we will move back to where that pistol was. We have the shotty and the rockets, the two main weapons that we want. And then we have the alternative weapon on the ground there, the pistol. It could be an assault rifle as well, but we want to stand over the pistol. So all we need to do is pull the trigger and swap weapons. So that will get the reload glitch going. And then in the meantime, we could throw a frag grenade to the right, another frag grenade to the right, and then we will pick up the rockets, which should be reloaded at this point, and we could fire one more rocket to the right side of that corner as they run around it, and that should kill the majority of all the enemies there. There might be a straggler or two, so whip out that shotgun. There was one combat form charging our location, so we killed him easily, and we're going to move up here and see that there is a carrier form who also missed out, and we will kill him with a rocket. Why not? Seems like overkill, but we have infinite rockets, so we're going to move up. We're going to continue reloading our rockets with the glitch because we actually have two more rockets that we want to land up here. On the left side of the door, there's going to be a combat form just hanging out on the structure over there, and then the same thing on the right side. There's actually going to be two combat forms hanging out on the right side of the door, so we're going to reload again with our infinite rocket glitch, and then we're going to fire at those guys. And at this point, we can move forward safely. I'm just going to reload the rockets with that infinite ammo glitch one more time. As you're firing those final rockets, and any rockets really, make sure to avoid the infection forms because they could jump right in your line of sight as you're pulling the trigger, and then you accidentally kill yourself with a point-blank rocket explosion. But just follow this path, and you could go around to the left and wrap around behind the index, which is a lot safer, and I recommend that way. But you can see I went the riskier route here. It's faster, but if you're interested in minimizing as much risk as possible, definitely go the left side. A couple more jumps, a few more seconds, but definitely worth it if safety is your #1 priority. But those last two rockets I shot are not necessary, especially if you take the safer route. Just something I did for fun at the end there. And that is the end of this grueling mission. Join me next time when we tackle another grueling mission, the last grueling mission of Halo CE 2 Betrayals. Thanks for watching, guys. If you found that video helpful, be sure to click on the scorpion icon to subscribe and hit that bell for notifications. You could also check out some related guides by clicking on the videos on screen, and you could find links in the description for other social media links of mine. Stay tuned for more Halo guides, and I'll see you in the next one.